Hi friends, welcome back to Laptop Seniors. Today we're doing the Q&A on the questions that you sent in below our videos on the Mexico City series. Yay!
Wow. Do you have the questions? I would assume you do.
I have the questions.
Okay.
But before that, I'd also like to say that so many of you commented on the format that we were doing, this conversational format. And I want to say Kathy, Bruce, Lupe, Wayne, you guys, thank you so much for writing in and for liking that format. And actually, many of you were suggesting that it feels like we're actually sitting together chatting as friends. And we feel that way too, right?
Yes. So did the people in this airplane coming by here. This helicopter. it's probably the police. I don't know.
They're looking for us.
And they're going to hover right overhead just to keep it quiet. Okay, so sorry.
So some of you were kind enough to even suggest that you wanted to donate to help sponsor our travels for, all the trips for putting these videos together. And that's wonderfully kind of you, but we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
We really want to keep our videos free for everybody. But I would like to point out that underneath the video, or I guess if you're watching on TV, you have to, arrow up and go over the way you do. But there's actually a thanks button, which allows you to donate any amount, I believe, that you would like to. And so if you'd like to do that, that's very appreciated, but everything's free still for everyone.
So questions.
So Steve wrote in that he thought restaurant pricing was high, and we agree. The restaurants that we went to did seem definitely higher than what we were expecting. But just to point out that we were mainly in the top 4 areas of Mexico City, which I'm sure are the highest 3 or 4 areas of Mexico City. And it's not to say that those are the only prices and the only restaurants. It's just that during the time that we were there, those are the ones we went to. And we definitely saw lower priced ones, right?
Yeah, there was, it's funny, as I saw an article where people were talking about the restaurant prices in Polanco, and they're saying that you pretty much, on a plain restaurant, you're doing $20 to $25 a head. That's kind of roughly what we saw in all areas. I mean, we had plain meals, and, she would usually get a glass of wine, I'd get a beer, and that was pretty much all there was. And you're in 50, 60, 70 bucks US. Now, you could definitely, we had breakfast one time, and it was a great breakfast. It was just up the street from us, and it was a little, I don't remember the price, but it wasn't much. I think it was like, $6 or something like that.
And there was actually a restaurant just down the street from us, which appeared and I think is one of the higher end restaurants. But we went in a couple of times and we had the tortilla soup and tacos once and the other times, I don't know what else, but we sort of didn't go for the big meal, but went for something lighter and not as formal. And I think the tortilla soup worked out to about $5 US. And it was a nice, big, hearty bowl of soup.
When you walk through at like 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, 3:30 to 5, somewhere in there, you will see millions of people in little restaurants that if you did not know the area and you weren't comfortable with what you knew about the area, you wouldn't be thinking of eating in them. But yet they're totally fine. And that's basically the bottom line. If you'd want to, because I had said it a few times to Viv on the way, I were walking by, it's like, these look like they would be really good restaurants because they're packed. But when you go by at like 1 o'clock when there's no one there, you go like, ooh, I don't know if I want to eat here. I think everybody does this, I would assume. You go somewhere where you're unfamiliar with the restaurants and you are worried about, maybe getting sick while you're traveling and all that sort of stuff. You're going to choose restaurants that look like North America first. You're going to go through those.
Right.
They tend to be more expensive. And then if you're living there, or the more you're there, just like in any city, I mean, when we're home, we got little holes in the wall that are great, but we know what they are. And, and that's kind of the bottom line. So if you live somewhere,
And yeah,
they're cheaper, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's tons of cheaper places.
and talking about water, we didn't have any problems, and we had drinks with ice. Maybe not the first couple of days, we were really careful.
Yeah.
But then once we started to and had no issues, we had ice and food that was washed in water in many places, and we didn't have any problems.
Yeah.
So
I think we beat that one to death. Let's move on to another one.
Greg was asking about La Condesa and the noise.
Noise. Oh, that's a toughie.
And so I would say, Greg, that if anybody's going to be sensitive to noise, I'm very sensory. I would say all the areas that we explored other than Old Town Zocalo were all in the much more quiet range.
Yeah, it was pretty quiet, and especially as we walked the streets at night and stuff like that. I mean, it was very, very quiet.
You are going to hear the odd loud motorcycle going down the street. And of course, it depends on how close you are to a main street. Like, we were less than a block away from like the main thoroughfare. So even at that, we didn't get a lot of noise. So that's pretty good.
I mean, the other thing was our building clearly was attached to another building where they had like a
Zumba class or
fitness
something.
and disco-y thing that people would go for fitness classes and stuff, and they would kick that baby in at about 8 a.m. and it was loud.
Well,
and somebody would be screaming at the people to and in Spanish to dance faster, do this, and it's with loudspeakers. It was really
and then the boom,
loud.
ba-da-boom, ba-da-boom.
But
it was not every day. It was only that first Saturday on the weekend. It was like, what the hell is that?
No, it was like every other day almost. But if you weren't within 2 buildings of that building, you wouldn't hear it. Wouldn't have been a big thing. So overall, quiet, I would say.
James, Bruce, Jana, Dwayne, and Joel, among others, were all interested in learning more about El Salvador and are looking forward to our video with Maru. We are also very excited about this video. We had a great time chatting with her in the restaurant when we met. Definitely trying to make that happen for you.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
Yeah, we're having a little trouble with the email and with her. She had a kind of an odd email, and I'm wondering if she wrote it out wrong because we've sent a bunch of emails and haven't gotten any reply back yet. So,
but we have other ways to reach her, and we will keep trying.
Yeah. No, we definitely want to do that because El Salvador, it's a hot topic. We've actually been debating when we go back to Panama. Because right now we're not we're on our way back to Panama. We have been debating whether to go to El Salvador and film there, or to go to Colombia, because and do Cartagena, Medellin, and Bogota, because we haven't done those either. And can't do both of them. Well, we could, but that's a small fortune, so not going to be doing that.
We have not. Hi, kids riding by on their bikes.
Little kids, yeah.
We've not nailed down our travel that's coming up in the next couple of months. Still working out budgeting and working out priorities, but we will definitely let you know what's to come, and we still have more on Mexico that's coming, right?
Yeah, lots more. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of video.
Burton wrote and said that we really helped him with our videos because he's trying to choose between Mexico and Panama. So
tough choice.
Yeah, we really try to tell it like we see it. And we try to base all of our comments on our own experience and what we've learned. Maybe not always directly, but talking to people that are there, and so we have so many of you who write and say they feel like we give honest opinions, that we're not trying to sell one place or the other or push something. We all have our different filters and different biases, but I don't know. I think it's wonderful if we can help you choose, because travel is expensive, and if it saves you a trip of one place or the other, or just helps you narrow down what places you want to check out and discover for yourself.
I,
then,
I feel
oh my
like there's
God.
a question in there or an answer that were you going to ask me something about that, or you kept
I'm
kept
just
looking over?
doing the blah blah blah.
Yeah, either one of those countries would be great. Obviously, we're partial to Panama, but after being in Mexico City, that was a complete eye opener to me. Certainly, I would live in Mexico City in any one of those four main areas, and like no equiv- no equivocation. Um, no, really, La Condesa, either
Yeah.
one of the Romas, Polanco, or whatever that other little
Seriously,
area was.
Pat said many times this is his favorite spot.
Yeah, because it had everything going for it. But the only thing is, to me, the only downsides of Mexico City was the traffic there is unbelievably crazy. And I don't mean crazy driving, I mean just like an enormous amount of cars. But then with 21, 23 million people, obviously it's going to be nuts. That being said, when you're in La Condesa and you're not on the main streets, like that one we showed you where the protests were, if you're not on that main street, which is like a 6-lane highway basically, 3 going in each way with a divider, and, that's like a parking lot day and night. But if you're on actually the streets in the back, it's like, okay, there's hardly any cars there. And also, Panama is definitely cheaper than Mexico, at least Mexico City. It's funny, I was reevaluating my thought, and you can take this for whatever it's worth. We were in Puerto Vallarta and really liked it. We looked at a lot of the areas of Puerto Vallarta, looked at the houses, looked at the condos, talked to a realtor. The whole time in Puerto Vallarta, to me, it was, this is beautiful. I really like this. I would never buy anything here. I just wouldn't do it.
In Puerto Vallarta.
In Puerto Vallarta, or in Mexico in general. I just wouldn't buy in Mexico. I would rent for sure, but just in case, you don't know what goes on. Just in case you wanted to bail out and wouldn't want to be stuck with something that you have to try to sell and can't get rid of it.
And does that hold for Mexico
No,
City?
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. All of a sudden, it was like, you know what? I would actually buy here. I would buy in La Condesa.
He likes it that much.
Yeah, I really did a 180 on that. And there was, if you want to follow my thinking was it's the capital of Mexico. If drug cartels and other things really started to get out of hand, they would tampen it down fast. I just can't fathom it getting to the point where you'd have to worry about it. That was my thinking. Other cities, not so much. I could be 100% wrong on that, but that's why I thought, you know what, in Mexico City, it's probably way safer to buy here than anywhere else.
Rex and Stuart feel that it's too expensive and still very dangerous.
Okay, well, we didn't see any again, you don't know where they're living, you don't know what area they're in or what areas they go to. I mean, we went through all of the areas, like we mentioned, both of the Romas, La Condesa and Polanco, and, and a few more, and we spent a lot of time down in the Zocalo area and everything in between there, and, I don't know, it seemed fine to us.
Yeah, but
every
by the
big city
same
is.
token, I don't think I'd be out walking by myself after dark. I just
Well, we
wouldn't.
did. We were constantly out walking.
Not
after
by
that.
myself.
No, true, yeah. Yeah, you got the.
Yeah, I
the-
mean,
the
when it
big
gets
guy.
dark so early that you can't avoid being out at night, and we did not feel threatened in any way when
No,
we were out
no.
at night, but we were together.
People very
I
friendly.
don't know if I would feel safe being out at night there. And I mean, depending on what your day takes you to, like you may live in La Condesa, but maybe if you're doing business, you have to be constantly going into other parts of the city. Maybe that's not as safe as
sure.
just staying in those other
in
areas.
reading up on it, there is definitely. I mean, I think that I've seen people mention 5, 6 areas of the city where it's like you do not want to go in there at night, and you maybe don't want to go in there daytime. you know. So, you know, I'm sure that's the case, but our experience, it was like, seemed totally fine, totally safe. I'd have no qualms.
Once again, I'm sorry, you guys, but we keep looking around because we're distracted by all the doggies. There's a dog park just down from us, and they're just so sweet looking. This guy just wants to lay here and doesn't want to walk anymore. It's fun.
Yeah. What's the next question?
Okay.
Or was that it?
Dan asked about water, which, well, we talked a little bit about drinking water and the safety of it, and also whether we saw fruit stands and vegetable stands. So there were definitely markets. And,
Yeah, a lot of them.
And just like many places, they sort of pop up on a certain day of the week in different neighborhoods. So there were plenty of...
Yeah, I'm going to show you one when we do Roma Sur, Roma South. We were, walking up through from La Condesa. You go from one neighborhood into the other. It's just, automatically walking as you go through. And then we had a really large fruit, vegetable thing that was like a block long. With a lot
and that
of
was
different
just
stalls.
one of those popped up on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it was cool.
And there
Yeah.
it was. It was
Yeah.
great. Lots of vendors, lots of choice, and
Yeah.
fruit and vegetables look great. And there were people with like refrigerated stands selling fish as well. I didn't see any meat, but I saw fish.
Yeah.
But maybe around the corner there was other types of meat. So yeah, definitely available. We didn't check the prices. I'm sorry.
No, but you can do that after the fact, because when you're filming, you're capturing the prices even though you're not looking at them. Here's an interesting fact. This will give you an idea of pricing that might freak you out, because it totally freaked me out. Right now, on our way back to Panama, we're in.
You're going to do the mayonnaise thing, aren't you?
I am going to do the mayonnaise thing. This was a shock to me. Okay, so right now we're in Orlando, on our way back to Panama, and we spent some time, this summer in Toronto. Okay, we mentioned that on some of the things. So in a pretty short period of time, we've had Mexico City, Orlando, and Toronto. Okay, and I happen to be seeing here, because we were like, well, maybe we should get some mayonnaise, and then it was like, well, okay, what are we going to do with it? We're going to have to throw it out. We're only here for a few days. This is Hellmann's mayonnaise, the typical large bottle, not the Costco sized, jar, but the regular large one. $8.89. $8.89 US.
So it was a
but
buy
let me
one,
finish.
get one.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter, because it's
Okay.
still $8.89 for one. Same exact jar in Canadian dollars, okay? Buying that jar of mayonnaise in Orlando, $13.68. Buying that jar in Toronto, $5.99. And if you buy that same jar in Mexico City, $4.99.
How did it get to $13.69
Because of the
in
exchange,
Orlando?
because of the exchange rate.
Oh,
Yep,
you're converting it to
I'm converting everything to
Canadian?
Canadian dollars, and those are the numbers I remember. That is a massive jump in price. Like that's like more than double. It's like, holy
I've
crap.
heard the mayonnaise conversation several times lately.
Well, I'm in a store and I'm like, yeah, I'll get some. What? Holy, what is this mayonnaise? Is there gold buried inside this jar? Like, what's the deal here?
Judith asks about revealing the way around proving your high income to get your visa for residency in Mexico.
Wow, that's that's a conversation.
Well, it is, and I'm sorry, we can't answer that right now, Judith, but we can tell you that there will be information coming on it, and we have an interview booked in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So before Christmas, you should see the video, which has all the health care and some really great information to help you if you're thinking about retiring to Mexico.
Yeah, I'll tell you one way, but there's a lot more to it than this. But just generally speaking, if you have ever visited Mexico before and you have a passport stamp, or they have you on record in their immigration of entering the country, you have a way, because of being there before, of bypassing a lot of those requirements. Okay. We'll find out specifically when we do the interview how you do that, okay? But you can do that, and that's one way. And I think there's like one or two other ways. but they're also, they're involved. You got a lot of hoops you're jumping through. Because Mexico, just like so many countries, we've told you a million times, so many countries are shutting down immigration because they don't want extra people coming in, because their own people are flipping out. And a lot of times for good reason. Too many people in one spot that everything can't handle. The
Yeah,
infrastructure.
a lot of people coming in, and expats coming in tend to push prices up for locals. Like, we do have a bad effect on the countries that we end up settling in, even with good intentions. Sometimes it doesn't go well. So I guess
Yeah.
we can appreciate
Yeah.
that.
What else you got?
Moving on?
Yeah. Moving on. Too close to politics. Don't want politics.
Yeah. Okay, the last question isn't a question. It was actually several comments that Blake made about Mexico City. And the first thing he said
Was
really,
that Blake from Dallas?
really caught my attention because, I didn't know that. He said that Mexico City was built on sand and that it was sinking, and I believe he said up to 20 inches a year. And I thought, wow, that jogger, that is a lot of sinking. So I did some research on it, and I found out that there is a story there. So apparently, Mexico City was started on an island. And in order to expand the city, they actually started draining the water all around it and ended up having all of this land. And let me look at what I said. So,
Go ahead.
sorry. So Mexico was built in the ruins of the, let me see if I can say this, Tenochtitlan. Sorry.
Just go right to the Aztec capital.
It was the Aztec capital. And the lake was called Lake Texcoco.
Looks like Texaco.
It does, but
Oil.
close. So it was the Spanish who drained the lake over centuries to expand the city. And there is damage to the infrastructure over time. And some of the buildings, if you look at them 30 years ago and look at them today, you can see, there's a bit of a tilt. They are leaning a little bit. But I want to say that the sinking is more like 20 centimeters versus 20 inches. And that's the maximum. Some years, there's really no sinking at all.
Yeah,
but it's true.
That's like 2 feet. I mean, I don't think a building would stay up. 2 years worth of that and the building's down. It can't be 20 inches.
Yeah,
and
I think that 20 centimeters, it was the maximum over all the years.
Anything more there, Buckaroo?
Yeah, so...
There's more.
No, there isn't. Those were the main points that, other than Blake's comment, more than 1 to 5, sometimes half a dozen of you would have asked the same thing. And want to do a shout out to all of you who took the time to write in and send those questions and your comments, and especially those thumbs up and support. We're always thrilled when you come back and visit us, and we definitely do feel like we're just friends chatting and visiting together. So enjoy the rest of your day, and please come back and see us again soon.
I'm just thinking if they're friends, right now they're going, can we get out of here now? Where's the door?
Well, they can leave anytime.
See you everybody.
Bye, guys.